Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I just had to do a massive rankings overhaul. Update not only my rookie rankings, but startup rankings as well. And I want to highlight a few rookies here that are moving up the most. And now guys that I'm going to be trying to target in the majority of my rookie drafts. But before we get into it, of course, if you want to find our rookie rankings, if you want to find the rookie rankings for so many of your favorite creators, including the Fantasy Stock Exchange, the Fantasy Land Football, Dynasty Land Football, Fantasy In-Game, it can all be found on flockfantasy.com. When you sign up for flockfantasy.com, not only are you going to get access to all of your favorite creators' rankings, you're going to be getting exclusive articles, exclusive videos, exclusive live streams from all your favorite creators. When you sign up with promo code FLOCK, you are going to get 30% off any subscription, and I personally will go through and make a podcast of your fantasy football team when you use promo code FLOCK. But I could not be more excited about you checking that out. I want to continue to talk about flockfantasy.com over and over and over again. You can find the link in the comment section, the link in the description. I've not been this excited about something in quite some time. But I think that should be it, and let's go through and let's actually talk about a player that Badaki just wrote an article on last week, Anthony Richardson. Now, of course, with Richardson, I am not the only person moving him up rookie rankings. If we're going through and looking at NFL mock draft database as well, if we're looking at grinding the mocks, you're going to see that Anthony Richardson's chart is straight up. Anthony Richardson is a rocket ship going to the moon right now. I mean, back in December, people were mock drafting him as a late round one selection from an NFL draft perspective, to where now the consensus is Anthony Richardson is a borderline top 5 pick. A lot of people are trying to get cute and saying that Anthony Richardson is going to be number 1 overall. Now, I can't sit here and talk about if Anthony Richardson is going to be a good or bad NFL quarterback. I frankly have no idea. This is something I talked about time and time again, that it is so difficult to evaluate rookie quarterbacks that 9 times out of 10, if you hear someone on YouTube, if you hear anybody talking about their favorite rookie quarterback who's going to be so good at the NFL level, blah, 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 they don't know what they're doing, okay? And I'm the first person to admit that. So I look at 4 very simple boxes that we've had a ton of success evaluating rookie quarterbacks from a dynasty fantasy football perspective. We are going to be looking at NFL draft capital. This directly correlates to job security. This also tells us what NFL talent evaluators who are able to actually talk to these quarterbacks in person, that are actually able to go through and try to get a sense of their character and remove the outside variables that maybe impacted their collegiate plays, such as offensive line, coaching staff, wide receivers, the whole 9 yards. They have so many more data points than we do. We get to know their opinion, and also we get to know how likely it is that their NFL team is going to actually give them a chance to be a starting quarterback in the NFL, and how many seasons they are going to have the opportunity to fail over and over and over again. If you draft someone like Dwayne Haskins in your dynasty rookie draft, if he has one bad year, I mean, hell, he's not going to be a starting quarterback the next season because he wasn't a top 5 NFL draft pick. He's going in the middle of the first round. Same thing with a Josh Rosen level player. Whereas if you're drafting, say, Baker Mayfield, Carson Wentz, Blake Bortles, Mitchell Trubisky, that quarterback that goes inside the top 5 picks of the NFL draft, that has all the team investment in the world, it doesn't matter if they fail early on in their NFL career. Their team has no other option but to continue to go out there and pray to God that they're able to change things up, that they're able to turn it around. The next box that we are going to be looking into is rushing upside, rushing upside, rushing upside. We'll get to this in just 1 second for Anthony Richardson. On top of it, what I want to be seeing is I want to see the situation that this player is going to be going to. If you're going to a dysfunctional organization top to bottom that has shown that from an ownership level down, they are not able to develop quarterbacks. It doesn't matter what the prospect was, who got selected in that situation. They were a long shot to be able to develop into something. Look at the Jets. Look at the Browns. I know Burrow was able to turn around the Bengals, but look how long that ended up taking. So I want to see them going to a respectable organization that has weapons around them and does not ruin prospects over and over and over again. That's actually a new opinion. I used to not view it that way 5-6 years ago. I used to make fun of people for saying that. But honestly, after you see it happen over and over and over again, you kind of got to come around to their argument. So if we were going through and looking at those three main boxes and trying to evaluate the type of prospect Anthony Richardson is, let's first look at the draft capital. He's supposed to be a top 5 pick, okay? He's supposed to have that NFL job security. It's almost guaranteed for him at this point. Now, of course, if he falls in the NFL draft, this will change, but it looks like he's a top 5 guy. If we look at his rushing upside, Anthony Richardson went out there and dominated the NFL combine. I mean, you were looking at a running back. You were looking at a quarterback that ran like a running back. He runs a 4.43 40-yard dash. Let me repeat myself. He runs a 4.43 40-yard dash. The man's 6'4". The man weighs 244 pounds. He's a 40-inch vertical. So we can see the rushing upsides there. We can also see that the rushing upside is there based on him rushing the ball for 400 yards in 7 games played as a sophomore, based on him going out there and rushing the ball 650 yards in 12 games played as a junior. So we know he is going to get 2 of the main boxes we are looking at: draft capital, rushing upside. I may or may not have fallen for Trey Lance for these same reasons. Fair warning. Now, if we're going to be going through and looking at quarterbacks that were able to check these 2 boxes to the level that you had from Anthony Richardson since 2014, I always look since 2014. That's when I started playing Dynasty Fantasy Football in 20-plus leagues every offseason. That's when I truly got addicted to this game. You have 18 quarterbacks that were selected inside the top 15 picks of the NFL draft since that time. I apologize. Actually, I think you have Trey Lance included in here, so you should have 19 quarterbacks. You have Joe Burrow, Tua, Lance, Herbert, Kyler, Daniel Jones, Baker, Darnold, Josh Rosen, Josh Allen, Fields, Trubisky, Mahomes, Watson, Goff, Wentz, Winston, Mariota, and Blake Bortles. Now, if we go through and filter out for all quarterbacks that ran a 4.50 or faster that got the NFL draft capital we are looking for, you have 2 guys. You have Kyler Murray and you have Justin Fields. Now, if we're going to be pulling up these respective quarterbacks, I want to be fair and say this does not mean Anthony Richardson will be a good real-life quarterback. I think a lot of people know my feelings on Justin Fields, on if he's a good real-life quarterback or not. We don't have to go down that road. This isn't guaranteeing he's going to be good in real life, but the point of it is if you have this level of rushing upside, you don't have to be a good real-life quarterback to be an elite fantasy option. We all know that Kyler Murray was a borderline top 5 startup superflex pick just an offseason ago. Kyler Murray, we all remember that value. With Justin Fields, currently, he is going in round 1 of Dynasty startup drafts. So the only 2 guys that have checked these 2 boxes to the level of Anthony Richardson are round 1 startup picks. And if we're going through and looking at their NFL careers so far, I almost want to say that it's worst case scenario. It's not worst case scenario, but this isn't best case scenario for Anthony Richardson, because I would make the argument that both Justin Fields and Kyler Murray have been below average real life NFL quarterbacks. They're elite from a fantasy football perspective, elite in fantasy, but real life, maybe a different story. I mean, if we're looking at Justin Fields, I understand he went to a very bad organization, going back to the boxes we were talking about early on in this video, but Fields has won 5 games as a starter. He's 5-20. The man has an adjusted yards per pass attempt mark at 6.2 through his NFL career. The man has 21 interceptions, 24 passing touchdowns. The man has more fumbles than rushing touchdowns. The man's averaging 152 passing yards per game. He's an elite fantasy option. He's going in round 1 of Dynasty startup drafts because he has all the rushing upside in the world, and that makes him elite in fantasy. And the point is, Anthony Richardson may be the same thing. Same thing going over to Kyler Murray. I would make the argument, Kyler Murray, not a great real-life NFL quarterback. Maybe you want to blame Cliff Kingsbury, blah, 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 but we can all agree Kyler has not been great from a real-life perspective. Kyler Murray, from an adjusted yards per pass attempt standpoint, 6.9 as his career average. Kyler Murray 25 wins, 31 losses. Of course, quarterback record is not everything. It's such a small piece of the puzzle. But still, if we're going through and looking at this, 84 passing touchdowns, 41 interceptions. If we're looking at the sacks, Kyler Murray overall has not been an elite real-life quarterback. But from a fantasy football standpoint, he is, because the rushing upside. So with Anthony Richardson, we know he will have guaranteed NFL job security based on his draft capital. We know at the same time that he will have all the rushing upside in the world based off what we had in college and the NFL Combine, to the extent of Justin Fields and Kyler Murray. Now, there's an outside chance. I know this may sound blasphemous, but there's an outside chance that Anthony Richardson may be a better real-life quarterback than Justin Fields and Kyler Murray at the same time. I'm not saying that's likely. I'm not good at evaluating real-life quarterback play. Going from college to the NFL, I'd make the argument almost nobody is good at it. I mean, if we're looking at the man's statistics, he has said 24 passing touchdowns his entire time at Florida. But all that's besides the point. When you're an elite rusher with draft capital, you put fantasy points on the board. And if we're going to potential landing spots that he'll have to see, can he find himself in a horrible situation like the Jets, like the Browns, like the Bears over the past 20 years, the Houston Texans, those teams that just ruin quarterbacks because they're inept top to bottom? I would make the argument probably not. Because if we're going through and looking at this, Chicago at 1, they're not going to be taking Anthony Richardson. It's just not happening. Houston at 2, I'm going to imagine Bryce Young ends up going before Anthony Richardson. I know a lot of people are on a CJ Stroud as well. I think Richardson is going behind those teams. Arizona at 3, probably not. Of course, there can be teams that trade up. Indianapolis at 4. Richardson goes to Indianapolis. I like that landing spot. You have a team that, historically speaking, has been pretty damn good top to bottom. You have a team that has a great running game. You have a team that has Michael Pittman at the minimum. We have Seattle at 5. I understand they just give Geno Smith a contract, really only a 1-year guaranteed deal. If you look at the details of it, I would make the argument Richardson goes to Seattle at 5. That is beautiful. The Raiders at 7. I kind of like the Raiders at 7 because you have Adams. You have a good running game as well. Atlanta at 8. That would be phenomenal, given the fact you have London, given the fact you have Pitts. And based on where mock drafts are putting him as of late, I doubt he makes it past then. Maybe Carolina trades up to go get Anthony Richardson. More people have been talking about the Panthers and CJ Stroud instead. So Richardson, in my mind, looks like he may be going to a decent situation. So if I'm trying to rank him, if I'm heading over to flockfantasy.com, use promo code FLOCK, get access to all my rankings, articles, extra videos, extra live streams, as well as all your other favorite creators with just one subscription. Promo code FLOCK, you'll get 30% off that subscription, and you'll get yours truly breaking down your Dynasty team in a podcast. But anyway, if I'm going over to Anthony Richardson in my Dynasty rankings, I've recently moved to be a 3rd round startup pick. Right now, looking at Anthony Richardson versus Tua and Dak Prescott, that is the tier of quarterback he is for me. I'm going to be looking at the QBs in Young, Stroud, Dak, Tua, all in primarily the same tier. Let me know what y'all are thinking. Let me know if you think I'm being a little aggressive. In Superflex, I still prefer Bryce Young because I think he just gives you more security than Anthony Richardson does. In a 1-quarterback league, I'm probably going to go Anthony Richardson just because in a 1-quarterback league, the only thing you care about is ceiling. And by the way, on flockfantasy.com, we have both 1-quarterback and Superflex rankings for everybody out there. But I think that's all I got for you. Thank you again. I really do appreciate you. Really hope you have a great day and really hope we get to see you with the video tomorrow.